Hello beautiful souls, welcome back to another video on Starseed Academy. My name is Jenny. So today I want to talk about the spiritual war that's going on and dive really deeply into the facts about what's happening and how you can help with practical, logical steps. And the reason that I want to talk about this is because, first of all, it's happening. It's not something that we can ignore. You can't ignore something and make it go away. And by now we understand that this spiritual experience on earth is not all love and light, right? That's not what we chose by coming to a third dimensional reality. We came here to help, to be in service to ourselves and to others. And there is a lot that you can do and that I can do in this timeline where the human collective consciousness is facing this spiritual war. So I also want to talk about this because there is so much heightened emotional energy around this, like fear, a lot of fear and anger, and not a lot of practicality, right? And sometimes we really need to just get to the basics of something and kind of clear away all of the drama. There's so much drama about this subject, and it makes people not know what to believe when there's all of these conflicting energies, people fighting about it, tearing each other down, calling each other out. It's like, we don't have time for that, and there's no need for that. We're all here to be working on this together. And yes, we all may have a different role and a different piece of the puzzle. We are still working in union with one another as we each fulfill our role. So let's talk about the different roles that you may be called into to serve in this spiritual war, because you're not going to be able to do everything. Like, that's not possible. That's why there are so many of us here with so many different personalities, talents, gifts, and callings. So before we dive in, please remember to like this video, give it a thumbs up, share this video, and before you leave, make sure that you're subscribed for new videos every Sunday, Monday, Wednesday on this channel. Okay, so let's start by talking about some of the hysteria. Like, there's no other word for it. It's absolute hysteria that is like being spewed out all over the spiritual community. And by spiritual community, I mean like social media, like Instagram, or maybe you like Facebook, YouTube. There's a lot of divide, like a spiritual divide happening right now that was not there at the beginning of 2021. This is a new thing. This is definitely new. It's grown and increased so quickly. And it's about the divide of people, this side going for oneness and this side going for separation. And so I guess duality is not new. It's not that it's new. It's just that it's showing up in this new way. And this new way is like a spiritual witch hunt. So there is this witch hunt going on, and I know that we've talked about it before in the false light video. Please check that video out for more in-depth information, because I don't want to go over everything to do with false light. But that is basically an entire video that is dedicated to it. So anyway, this witch hunt is going on because people get into hysteria and fearfulness, which is actually victim mentality. And then they get, like, the fearfulness turns into paranoia, all of these things. So where does this start or stem from? Because it's not that there are bad people. I mean, there's a lot of passion and a lot of fire, and I understand that most people are doing the best they can with what they have, but let's just talk about how it got this way. Like, where did this fear and paranoia and witch hunt stem from? Because it's really important and has to do exactly with this spiritual war. So it began with the fight. So not everybody, a lot of people were suddenly focusing on fighting. This happened in 2020, especially near the end. It was all about the fight. And you would see people posting about how we need to fight back, and I'm fighting for the rights of some hot topics, the children. So the children that are being used for things like adrenochrome, human trafficking. A lot of these poor innocent souls are underground, or the ones that are above ground are in controlling situations, they are not free. So that's a hot topic. The next hot topic would be the vaccines and them being the worry of them becoming mandatory, like a vaccine passport. And then the third hot topic would be like the shutdowns, the C word, COVID, and what it's doing to our world and our children and the mental health and business and economics and society in general. This seems like all very good and valid things to fight against, right? Like it makes sense that you would want to fight back against these kinds of injustice. And I'm not disagreeing with that. Just follow this thread. That fight energy very quickly turned into preaching. So that very like in your face preaching energy, where suddenly the person that's doing the preaching is right and everyone else that maybe doesn't agree is wrong. And then they're trying to force this information or their viewpoint down people's throats. And then that preaching energy evolved again into the aggressive confrontational energy. So there's a lot of aggression and a lot of confrontation if someone doesn't agree with your beliefs. And then that mutated into the witch hunt, which is where we find ourselves today. So you can kind of follow that trail of energy and see where things like the fight lead. So the fight leads to confrontation, preaching, confrontation, aggression, a witch hunt, accusations. So all of these accusations about people either being in false light or their teachings are false light, or these people being hijacked. So trying to tear other people down when they don't align with what you believe. So no one can have different beliefs then, right? So, and that doesn't work because spirituality is not one-dimensional, it's multi-dimensional, and every perspective has truth to it. And different perspectives ignite different people, light them up. And look at yourself on your spiritual journey. Didn't you need different perspectives at every stage? Right? We've all been there. We've all been maybe in the fight or in the conspiracy or in whatever. You kind of need that on your way to oneness. So the fact of the matter is that we are in a spiritual war. We absolutely are. I would never deny that. You can't deny that. And we are sharing a world and a universe, but Earth as well, with all different kinds of beings. And some of those beings are dark entities, lower vibrational, which means they're very selfish. So very selfish, narcissistic, and unable to see a bigger picture or beyond their own desires. And this was covered in the video demonic possession and hijacking, if you want to know more about dark entities and how they work. So what I'll just say quickly in this video, because again, I don't want to go fully in depth when we have a full video on that already, but I do want to speak on it just a little to say that what they feed on is those energies. So low vibrational energies, especially anger, fear, the fight, right? All of those things we just talked about is feeding these beings. So they already have, because the collective consciousness is already saturated in fear. You can't deny that. Look at the fear in the world. Look at how we're living. We can't even connect with each other physically and in real life. There's so much fear, right? I mean, the masks, the shutdowns, all of that is based in fear and control and creates things like the fight and anger. It's all just feeding itself like a vicious cycle. So a buffet of low vibrational food is laid out for these beings that are trying to control the third dimension for them to gorge on. And so if you continue to feed them, you are feeding that aspect of the spiritual war, making them stronger. And the spiritual war, in the most basic terms, is about bringing in equality. So right now we have so much darkness. The overarching darkness. And we need to bring the light up to be even with that darkness to create balance, equality, wholeness, oneness, like a whole experience. We need balance really badly. So it isn't about eradicating the darkness, it's about bringing up the light and the love and the kindness, forgiveness, compassion. Those qualities are what we are lacking. And when we bring those up to meet the dark selfishness of fear and anger and preaching and the fight, all those things, if we match that, then we're going to have an aligned timeline of balance. And then humans will have their free will restored, because even though they have their free will, because no one can take it, it's being manipulated out of their perspective. So they can't see it, if that makes sense. Like, they aren't aware of it because they don't understand how much they're being controlled. That it's all a game through control and repeated messages through the media and politics, like high leaders of politicians, like the elites, the high up celebrities. If everybody just keeps repeating the same controlling message, then all of the humans will just assume that that's what's going on and that's what they need to comply with. So then they comply and give away their rights willingly. It's their free will choice to do so, but it's a tricky thing because they're having their free will manipulated. It can't be taken, but it's being tampered with. And this is where we come in. So we're here to show, to bring the awareness in, like we're doing with this video. Here's what's going on. Now let's talk about real ways that we can actually be of service in this war. Because being in the fight is feeding the darkness. And that's what we're trying to bring into balance. So what do we need to be feeding, right? So we're going to talk about practical ways to do that. But one last thought on this, the feeding of it. Okay, so one last thought here before we move on to what what we can do to be in service. One last thing about the fight, because it really needs to be spoken on so much because it's so prevalent. Okay, you are responsible for your energy and your frequency and what you consume. And what you consume into your body and into your mind and into your awareness and energetically is affecting you big time. Okay, so nobody is responsible for that but you. That's all up to you. So that has to do with the food and the drinks that you consume. That has to do with taking care of your body and your spirit. You're doing your spiritual routines, keeping your body clean of harsh chemicals, fluorides, those kinds of things. But it has to do with the consumption of your social media and your entertainment. So what are you choosing to bring into your awareness? What are you choosing to focus on? What are you saturating yourself in? So like the news, for instance, if you watch the news, which is a play, it's not real. It's a script, okay? It's what they want you to focus on to create more of. And if you give it your power and your attention, then that's exactly what you do. And not only do you help that darker agenda, but you hurt yourself because now your own timeline starts to reflect those aspects because you're holding that energy inside your body, in your heart. Whatever you consume gets held mostly in your heart chakra, but in your whole system. And that's where you create from personally, right? So if you're thinking, well, whatever, let the collective deal with this themselves, I'll just be over here on my own timeline. Okay, but in order to create a higher personal timeline for yourself, it still comes from in here. So if you're feeding that or consuming that in any way, it's going to show up on your own timeline too. So you cannot escape it unless you are intentionally consuming high vibrational content and frequencies, as well as still informing yourself. I understand that that's still very important to inform yourself, but doing so in a non-reactive way. That is so, so important. So if you're seeing on your feeds a bunch of posts, videos, fiery spiritual people going on and on about how we need to fight, we need to fight, we need to fight. They're slaying demons. Then they're calling out this person for being hijacked. I mean, all of that crazy anger, rage, fear. It's really fear. All of this is fear. Like, everything stems from fear that's low vibrational. Okay, that's always the seed. So if fear is the seed, then what grows out of that, sprouts out of that seed is anger and preaching and rage and victim mentality. It's all coming from fear. So really, even though they're trying to project like a warrior archetype, they're actually full of fear. That's fear. It absolutely is. And I'm sure that you can see that at the seed and at the origin of where they're coming from, they're afraid. Because they're so focused on the darkness and the fear of losing the war, the fear of losing control, the fear of having their rights stripped away. Fear, fear, fear. So we can't exist in that frequency and serve the other half of this war, the scenario that we need to be bringing up, raising up. And so I want you to understand that it's very important to have the knowledge of what's going on, inform yourself in the most neutral way that you can, staying away from like really negative or angry vibes, just trying to take in the information and being discerning. Like, does this connect with me? Do I believe this? Because it's not all true. You need to be discerning and inform yourself with channels that you trust, not the news, good Lord, and not overly aggressive or angry sources. So just like neutral. Do your best, right? And I know that's tricky, but you can pray on that as well. You can meditate on that and ask that information, those sources, to come into your life, and you will find them. So inform yourself, most important part. That's the beginning stage. We're going to inform ourselves. Then we're going to get our frequency in the right place before we take action. So there's the knowledge aspect. We have to inform ourselves. Then we have to get right in our hearts, and then we take action. Because the frequency is more important than the action steps, because it's what's fueling them. So if you get your frequency in the right place and then take action, it's going to be so successful. But if your frequency is in fear or in any of those other lower vibrational ways and energies, then your action will just expand that. And then you're feeding the wrong side of the war again. So hopefully that all makes sense. So we're going to empower ourselves with the knowledge. We're not going to avoid and pretend like everything's all love and light. We are going to inform ourselves. Then we're going to get our frequencies right. And then we're going to take the action steps. Practical things that you can really do, which we're going to discuss these steps in this video. And you're going to see where your calling is, because we're not all called to all of these steps. So it's like an equation again. It's information plus frequency plus action equals the solution to this war. We have the solution. It's a three-part step, three-part journey to the solution. And you are more than capable of doing this. So as long as you understand the first two steps, we can move on. So informing yourself in a non-reactive way, not adding into the anger and the rage and the horror. And I know that's hard. And it's okay to feel those things, especially when you're learning about the really hard stuff, like the dark stuff that's happening. You're going to feel that way, but don't stay there for long. Don't lose hope. Don't fall into fear and hopelessness. We're here for this. You trained for this. We are absolutely capable of winning this war. We already are. I know that we are, because there's so much awareness already. And that's the first step. Awareness, knowledge. Now let's get our frequencies right personally and as a community so that we can move into action. So here's a really good tip about the frequency part. If you can just switch your perspective from being in the fight and needing to fight, switch that into being of service. I am of service. I am of service to the light. So if you can just do that little switch in your perspective, and those don't have to be the words that maybe work for you, but you get the idea. stepping out of fight and aggression and into confident service. Like, I am 1,000,000,000% certain that I am of service in this war or in this battle. I know that I can help, and I know that I will and am making a huge difference. That's confidence. That's being in service. That is unshakable confidence. And then you take that into these action steps and into the astral realms, and you are truly a rainbow warrior and a warrior of light. So, we've got the knowledge. We understand how to do that now. We've got the frequency. We know what to do. We know we're just going to switch our perspectives. We're going to stay in the in-service mode. I am in service. I am helping. I am lifting up the light and the love. I am spreading my truths and awareness with light and love and hopefulness. That's the right kind of frequency here. So now the action steps. So here's where you're going to want to listen up and see what calls to you, because there might be more than one. There definitely might be more than one. You might feel called to all of them. Oh my God. If so, get ready. Get your pen and notebook out. Take some notes on this. Okay. So here's what's important about these steps. These steps are clear and concise. They're practical and they're logical, and they work in the dimension that we're in. So if we're in the third dimension, then we need to be doing things that make sense here in the third dimension. We will talk about some higher dimensional solutions as well, but it's very important to still offer third dimensional practical action steps, because that is where this is taking place, right? The 3D construct is what society, the society of humanity, is currently sitting on or built on. So we have to work with that in some aspects. And if your action steps are not practical and easily laid out for someone to follow, then you're probably in that fight energy, that hysteria. Because again, you know, to help you to clean up your socials and who you're following and all of that, this is really important, okay? So important to take care of your energy. So if there's a lot of like hysteria about, you know, the fight and all the things that we should be doing, but there's no practicality to it, then what are they really accomplishing? You know, like how are you fighting? You're continually, you know, preaching and ranting about how we need to fight back, but how are you doing it? And how are you teaching others to do that? Because I know that you're not out there like, you know, reaching into the gutters and pulling children out of the underground. So what are you doing? Like, back up your passion, and there's nothing wrong with passion, but back it up with some action, right? So let's get real here. Let's actually do something. So the first action step that you can take is petitions. So people don't realize how powerful petitions are, maybe because they see so many of them, they think that they don't do anything. But petitions are actually much more organized than a protest. So some people will be called to protest, boots on the ground, on the streets with their signs. If that is what you are called to do, I support and honor that divine mission. And I would only just suggest that you make sure that you are not in an angry or reactive state when you do so. Because the gathering together of people, it magnifies the energy present. And so if the energy present is that angry fight energy, and then you have all these people shouting with their angry signs, magnifying more of it, then you've got the buffet and you're feeding them. You're feeding the dark entities and the dark galactic beings that are in control of the politics here on Earth. You're feeding them. They can siphon that energy off, and they can even use it to power 3D aspects and like cycle it right back into the third dimension constructs. Look what you're feeding. So if you're going to do it with love. Go out with messages of love and hopefulness. Or if you need to go out with messages of like firm conviction, of not standing for things anymore, then you can still do that non-reactively. Like if you want to go out there and say, I won't stand for this anymore, this is not okay, but what do you want to see? Like, don't forget to add on at the end, like, here's what we want to see. We want a future together. We want hope. We want oneness, whatever it is that you want, freedom, all of those things. Focus on the end result that you want to see come about and not what you don't like. So that's basics. That's spiritual basics, to focus on what you want to create more of and not on what you don't want more of, because it's being amplified and magnified so much, especially when you get together with other people. So if you're protesting, be non-reactive. Don't fall into fear and anger and rage and accusations and blame. Find a way to do this while still upholding the light and being of service to that light. And then what I wanted to say about petitions is that they are very powerful because they tend to be more organized than protests. More organized in the sense of there's proof. All of those signatures are proof that those people are interested in ending this aspect and starting up this new way. So there needs to be a change. It's all about change and transformation. We're calling for a change in this area, and here's the proof of all the people that are going to support this. And so you can see the numbers much more clearly. You have all of these names and signatures, and that can be really powerful. It can be really powerful, especially when you do it in a local way. So instead of sending things right to your, like if you're in the US, right to the White House, or if you're in Canada, right to the Prime Minister, instead of sending it to like the presidential or the Prime Minister, send it to someone smaller, like a mayor, or like, whatever you have, whatever terms and kinds of people that you have in your local area. Because then it's more likely to be seen and to be read and to be considered, and it won't get lost in the mix. So start local and then expand from there. And this goes for emails as well. So that's another action step. You can write emails to your local mayors or Congress or whatever you have in your country. And you can write well thought out emails about, here's what I will not continue to support or stand for. This is not working. Here's what I would like to see. Here's the changes that need to be made. And you can still get signatures if you want to show that all the people that are backing that up. Or you can use that email as a template and share it with other people that can then take that, personalize it a bit, and send it to their local representatives, right? So especially if it's something that's like written very well and very high vibrational. These are real, tangible ways to make a difference. And if you don't think that they work, you're wrong. They absolutely work if you do it in the right energy. So if you do it in a very intelligent and thoughtful way, it will be considered, especially when you stay consistent with it and get other people doing it as well. Then those local political representatives, when they start seeing that coming in and coming in and coming in from hundreds, maybe thousands of people, you better believe that that's going to get them thinking. And then the next time they are doing like a press summit or like whatever, a talk, or making decisions, it's in the back of their mind. They're thinking about it. And it's going to start affecting their decision-making process, their language, their frequency. And that matters. And the same thing goes for phone calls as well. Exactly the same steps. If you would prefer to make a phone call to your local representative, then do so in a non-reactive state. Do so be firm, absolutely, be firm in what you know to be true, but be respectful and loving and kind when you do it. So the next thing that I wanted to talk about, the next action step, is to be an example of living freely without fear. So, and without aggression. Okay, so here's an example for you. There's many examples, but let me give you some really obvious ones. So if you want to be an example of someone who's living in freedom and living, not being controlled and manipulated, then let's just say that you decide that you're going to go mask free, but you're not going to do it in an aggressive, in your face way. You're going to do it in a smiling and friendly way. So you're smiling at the people around you that are wearing masks. And first of all, they might even forget what that even looks like to see in person, to see someone happy and smiling and friendly and approachable. But then you're sending out that loving energy. Like, I'm not doing this to protest or tell you you're wrong. I'm doing this because it's my choice to be happy and free. You can also do this with your choices of where you spend your money, because money is an energetic, it's abundance. It's abundance. So who do you want to give more abundance to? The big boxed stores that are trying to, they're getting richer and richer during these lockdowns, or to the local communities, to the real people, the families, the businesses like that. So that's, if you support them with your attention, your finances, your abundance, and sharing about them, talking about them to others, reviews, giving them good reviews. There are so many ways to support them. You can send them even just like a really beautiful written email or message about how you really appreciate their role in your community. All of that lifts people up. It's all adding to that lifting up of the light aspect, which is the half of the war that we're here to do. The next thing that you can do is to share content, because it's energy and it's frequency, and then you put it out into the collective. Share content like messages, posts, like either messages personally to people or like posts on social media or videos, all of that, but share uplifting and hopeful content. So when you uplift people, then you remind them what they're living for, and that it's not all about a war and it's not all about a struggle. It's the end game, right? Uplifting, hopeful messages where humans like come together as community again and support one another again and laugh together again and be silly and connect in a deep, meaningful way, in a fun way. I mean, you could share humor, like you could share fun memes, not bitter, not like share things that are lighthearted, because that's what we need right now. There is enough bitterness, and that's still feeding into that whole fear. Can you feel that? Like when you read memes that are like super bitter and angry, but kind of snarky and funny, I don't know. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like lighthearted hopefulness, silliness, things that actually make people feel better and lighten their heart energy and their frequency. Or like just hopeful messages. Like there are so many beautiful spiritual teachers out there sharing about oneness, or they're sharing card spreads, or they're sharing some free healing, or they're talking about real ways that you can help in the war, like this video, like real stuff that makes people feel like, okay, I can do this. Here's how I can help. Like that kind of vibe. So be an example of that, because there is so much, and I understand that you still want to probably share information. And like I said, that's the first step to be informed. So that's fine, but don't just share serious information. If you can insert some love, hopefulness, kindness, or humor in there, then that'd be a lot more of that wholeness aspect that we could all use more of, because it reminds us of the joys of being human and being on earth. And there are so many blessings, you know, like who doesn't love a great cat video? You know what I mean? Like just try to have some balance. So the next way that you can help is to volunteer for missions. So you are probably already going on missions in the astral realms, but you can volunteer to be of even more service or specific services. So you can do this in meditation space, or you can also do this before you fall asleep. Just put yourself up for service that night. Volunteer. You know, like I know that most of us volunteered to be here on earth, but you don't volunteer just once and then that's it. Keep volunteering. Keep showing up for service. And so for me, what this looks like is before I'm falling asleep, I will, if I really feel the need to be of service, like especially when it's been a hard day or you're seeing the suffering of so many people around the world, you know, those kinds of days, and you're filled with fire to be of service and you need to help, that's the perfect time. Go in with that fiery intention of being of service and of help. and state that to your team and councils before you go to sleep. Like, I need to be of service tonight. I need to feel like I'm making a difference. I need to know that I'm doing something. I can't stand for these injustices anymore. Help me serve in the best, highest way possible. And then as you're falling asleep, you can use the this crystal here, selenite, and especially the tower is really powerful. You can also find this in a wand though. But a selenite tower, if you hold that in your receiving hand, so your non-dominant hand, hold that in your receiving hand or put it under your pillow if you don't want to hold on to it. It will actually help you to have more clarity in the astral place so that you remember what you were up to. So it will help you to remember the next day more clearly, and then also have more lucidity, more clarity when you're there on that mission. So try working with selenite, or clear quartz is also very powerful in this way as well. So either one of those two will help you with this. And that helps us because when we remember the missions that we went on at night, it gives you that satisfied fulfillment. Like, I need to feel fulfilled, like I'm doing, that I am really in my spiritual mission, making changes and making a difference and actually creating real change and helping people. And when I wake up with memories of a soul mission, it feels amazing to know and remember all of those things that you were doing that night. Now, you might not be allowed to see all of it because a lot of these missions are going to be top secret, or they're going to be dark, and you don't need that. Like, if you can't remember the specifics, just trust that you don't need to know everything. So a lot of the times I'll remember the beginning of a mission and the end, and then the middle is just gone. And I trust and I know that that's because it was either that's too dark and I don't need to have those hellish visions when I'm trying to live my life, or it's top secret and it's information that humanity is not ready for. So it's either too much or it's not time, but you were there and you were doing that. And just having even what I have, like the beginnings and maybe a few snippets and then the end, I know I'm in service and making a difference. So keep volunteering. Go in with the spirit of a volunteer and go out on those missions as often as you feel like you can. And as a starseed, you are likely already a part of a lot of missions. So know that and use the selenite to help you remember them. But feel free to re-volunteer and keep restating your desire to be in those missions. And then also, just so you know, there are so many different kinds of missions that there will always be something that is suited to you. So if you are more suited to missions in the higher dimensions, then that's where you'll be placed. Your team knows, don't worry. You don't have to attach any kind of a fear to it. You won't be put anywhere that doesn't match what's right for you. And then those of us who are really proficient and well-versed in dealing with the darkness and the lower density dimensions, then we might be sent there. And that's perfect because that's what we excel at, right? So there's a mission for you. There's an intensity level for you. There's a vibrational level for you because there are that many missions going on at all times. So you are definitely going to be of service, and it will be very helpful if you do that. And then the last action step I have for you is really about setting the example of what it means to be a divine human. So right now we have a collective consciousness of mostly humanity. And then sometimes us starseeds feel like a little bit more of that soul aspect, and we have a harder time feeling like the human. So it's about balance. So this is about, actually I had a video about this recently too that you can look into, and it was about creating balance between the body and the soul, the humanity and the divinity. So check that video out because that's exactly what I'm talking about. It's of becoming that balanced being where you are in complete alignment with your divinity and your humanity, and you live in that balanced state. And when you live in that balanced state, what you can do is you are able to bring the energies down from the higher dimensions, from source itself, and ground them here into the planet. And that is a huge, huge way to be of service. So you can be that channel for higher dimensional frequencies to be grounded deeply into the earth, or you can channel those higher frequencies out of your heart with your intention through your meditation A great way to do this to help you focus is to do it with a map. So if there's an area of the world that's really suffering, you can pull out a map and focus all of your heart energy on that specific area of the map. And that is a really powerful way of focused intention. So like, for instance, like last summer or the summer before, there were some really terrible things happening in Australia. They were really hurting in a lot of ways with the wildfires, with the major lockdowns and shutdowns. And so you can pull out a map and focus all of your love on Australia to help them. That's how we do this work. Or you can do it for, like right now, Canada is really suffering in a lot of ways, like especially in Ontario. So I can visualize the province or pull out a map and focus all of my love and energy there to try to heal that specific area of the world. So there are many ways to use higher frequencies from source. And those frequencies are frequencies of unconditional love, compassion, kindness, forgiveness, oneness, all of that good stuff. So either ground it into the earth, intentionally focus it on a person or an area or an event, or some people are sending it into the collective. So the collective consciousness of humanity. You can send that into the collective through social media, through music, right? Why not? High vibrational music, through light language. You're sending it in for human attention. So if you're sending something out into the collective consciousness and it gets the attention of some of the humans, then that's perfect. That's exactly the point, right? So do that with light language, do that with song, do that with frequency, do that with your words, your writing. Maybe you're a photographer and you do that with beautiful pictures. Maybe you speak light language, or maybe you write the symbols. Or like me, maybe you write. You literally are like a writer at heart, and you send your words and your phrases out. There are so many ways, so many ways to do this. So you're sending these high vibrational, unconditional love frequencies deep into the planet, or into an area of the world, or into the human collective. So whatever way you feel called, we need it all. And it is so powerful. Your intention is so powerful, and your energy is so powerful, and your creations, like your creativity and your inspiration, that is so powerful too. Like the things that you're creating are making such a difference. So out of all of these action steps, please let me know in the comments below what resonates for you. It might just be one. Like you might be that really deep channel that sends and grounds the frequencies, the high frequencies. Or, you know what, one that we didn't talk about is a grid worker. You might be a grid worker. So there's a planetary grid around Earth that holds energy. And that's what, like, if you keep feeding the fight and the darkness, and then they keep pumping it into the energetic grid, it keeps the 3D construct locked in to 3D and not able to move into 5D. So what you can do is then insert your own frequency into the planetary grids. And you can do this, most people do this through meditation as well. It's like a healing session that you are completing on your section of the grid, right? So we are all placed in different areas around the world very intentionally. So work on the section that you're in. That's why you're in that area. So for me, I would be working on the Ontario grid, like the planetary energetic grid that I can see right above Ontario, and I can lift that up, I can fill it with love, I can mend the areas that need mending, and you can do all of this just through visualization. It's not complicated. Just picture the grid. It does exist, and if you just visualize any kind of a grid, then you are connecting with it in real life. So you can meditate on it, or you can have a healing session, or you can do it in your dream space. Visualize that grid. It's like a geometric kind of hexagonal pattern. You could picture it like a spider web, if that helps, or you could picture it like a bee's hive. Like, you know how they have the hexagonal shapes that are all attached to one another inside the honeycomb? It kind of looks like that. But all energy lines. So intuitively go in to the grid and send in love, unconditional love. So you're charging it, you're topping it up, you're fueling it, and then you're looking for the areas of where it needs healing or mending. So many ways that you can help. So again, please just say in the comments below how you are being of service to the light, how you are lifting up that side of this spiritual war, bringing up the light, so that we can finally arrive at a place of balance between the two opposing forces. And if there are ways that you are in service that I did not mention, because there are so many ways, like of course I'm not going to mention them all, hundreds of ways, unique ways, things that I've never even thought of because it's not my mission. So these are all the ways that I like to serve. What ways do you like to serve? If we share these ideas, then we're going to inspire each other, and we're going to help each other to try new things and expand our service. So please do take the time to comment that below. And just before we go, please remember that you trained for this. You trained for this before you got here, probably on Pleiades, where a lot of us trained for this. And for more information on your training, which might spark some memories for you, check out the video Pleiadian Doctors and Scientists, because that was all about the training that souls go through before coming to Earth. Most of us had a stopover on Pleiades before this incarnation, so definitely check that video out. But just know that you trained for this in so many ways. This is the mission. It's what you came here to do. It's what you've been waiting your whole life for it to start. And that's why in 2020, so many of us woke up to a new level, because it was like the beginning of something that we recognized, and we knew that it was what we were here for. And it's true. This is it. This is the mission. This is the spiritual war. This is what you're here to assist with. Don't fall apart. Don't lose yourself in the darkness of fear. Stay in hope. Stay in movement. Use these steps. Use the equation. Inform yourself. Get your frequency right. Maintain that frequency. So important. That's the most important thing. Where are you at in your heart right now? If it's not in the right spot, if it's not in that light and that love and that hopefulness, then work on it before you step into action. So inform yourselves, get your frequency right, and then get moving. Get into action in any of the ways that resonate for you. And remember not to judge another person's path, because their action is going to look a lot different than yours. And that doesn't mean that they're doing less than you or more than you. And there's no reason to compare yourself, because it's incomparable. Look at all the differences in just this short video. Well, the video might be long now, but look at all of the differences in the ways that you can serve in just these couple of examples. Just imagine the huge wide scope of missions that souls came here with and their own personal way to serve. So it's not about comparison and it's not about judgment, but it is about finding your way and getting moving. Get in action. We need you. So no more laying back on the sidelines. There is a way that's appropriate for you to serve. So I hope that I've sparked something for you today, and that you're feeling that desire to be of service and to help with this. And thank you so much for sitting through this. If you're still here at the end of this video, thank you so much for being in service. Please remember to like this video and to share it. This is a really good one to share. Please share. And then subscribe here on this channel for more videos just like this coming in the future. And also, if you'd like to work with me one-on-one for many different services, including healing sessions, counseling sessions, one-on-one breakthrough sessions, readings, there's so many options for working with me, then just check out the links in the description box below. Also, if you feel like you're resonating with my energy and I've helped you in any way, then please consider donating to support this channel. And you can find that as the first link in the description, where it says, if you resonate, donate. And I so appreciate your generosity when you do that. But before you go today, one last thing. Please remember, listen to your heart and the quiet voice within, because you are so much more than the body you are in. Thank you so much. Have such a good day. Bye.